Okay, this experience was by far one of the most funnest, and it's at the top of my list as being one of the most fun. And anyway, I think I figured out another smell that these aliens smell like, because, well, I thought it was my turtle, but now I'm not so sure, because I smelled it again last night when I laid down. I didn't go to bed till about 2:15 a.m. and I slept till about 11:30. But I smelled that same smell again. So I don't know. I don't know if it's maybe the alien smelling like that, or if it's my turtle, or if it's just a smell that they're making me smell by, you know, like an artificial smell. I mean, it doesn't smell artificial to me. It smells real. Yeah. To me, what it smells like, this may offend some people, but what it smells like is, I do have a video, by the way, of some of the smells the aliens either create or give off. And what it smells like is, and I'm not saying all black people smell like this, but when I was in Georgia one time, you know, it's very muggy and hot there, and I was at a grocery store, and this good-looking black guy, he was dressed in all white, like really nice pants on and a nice shirt, but you can tell that he was very, very hot and very sweaty, and you know, he had an odor to him. And, I mean, I know what I smell like, and it's not that. Like if I sweat or whatever, I smell like, onion or whatever under my arms. But, yeah, and I swear to God, that one time I was sitting on the couch, and I was thinking, what the hell is that smell, man? And then I looked down and my turtle was right under my feet. And I thought it was her. And then last night I smelled it again when I lay down for bed at 2:15 a.m. I smelled that smell again. So that could be not my turtle. That could be a smell the reptilians give off or something. Shit, I don't know. But it's kind of interesting. But that's what it smelled like. It smelled like He was a very dark-skinned black guy. And like I say, that's what it smelled like to me. So like I say, like I say, I know it's not a smell that I give off. I know what I smell like. And so it's either my turtle or it's the beings themselves that are smelling like that. And it makes you wonder because, I talk to them all the time. And I was talking to them last night for an experience. They did give me an experience, but not what I wanted. They gave me just a dream. It was awesome. It was fun. It was very long. It was intricate. It was detailed. Basically, it was about an abandoned house. Some parts were very immaculate. Some was very cluttery and nasty. And there was one little virtual reality scene in it. But basically, it was just a dream. And I even went up to go to the bathroom, and I laid back down, and it continued on. And it was like over a year ago, another a lucid dream like that happened, where they put me in water a lot, where I came out of an apartment building, and my car, it was like, it had rained, it had flooded, basically, and the water was like, oh my God, it had to be at least 8 or 9 feet deep. And so I was like swimming in water. My car was like swimming past me, and I'm thinking that thing could like hit me in the head and kill me. But anyway, it was that time I had woken up and I went back to sleep, and that same lucid dream continued on. So yeah, that's when I started to figure out that it was them creating all these scenarios for me. And if they already pre-program your implant or whatever, it don't matter if you break the sleep cycle and wake up and go back to sleep. That dream, that lucid dream or virtual reality experience is going to continue on. And this morning it did. And but anyway, it was just basically about, my uncle and aunt, they in real life had moved a couple years ago from this awesome house that they lived in. They're millionaires in Texas. But in the scenario, they left it abandoned. I mean, they left everything abandoned inside, all the contents. And in the scenario, they made it, oh my God, like a freaking mansion. I mean, endless rooms, endless bathrooms, endless dining rooms. But it was kind of cool. The refrigerator was immaculate. And there were boxes of cereal lined up in the refrigerator. There was cheese. There was Santa Claus chocolate, little Santa Claus chocolate, and I took some of those and ate some of those candy. But the refrigerator was immaculate. The dining rooms were totally luxurious and immaculate. And of course, when I went upstairs to the bedrooms, those were like disgusting, and the bathrooms were disgusting. But I won't get into all that. But they repeated that some of those same themes over and over and over again that they put in, this morning's dream scenario. They repeat those a lot. Like the bathroom things that I won't go into. But, yeah, so anyway, it was about a year ago, or a little longer, that's when I figured out that they were creating all this shit for me via implant or whatever. So, of course, I was talking to them last night to give me an experience, but not just a freaking dream, but I still had a freaking blast. I mean, it was still a blast, just not as fun as the other experiences. And, but yeah, it was, and of course, over a month ago, I was, for several days, I was watching, like going into abandoned buildings and stuff. I've always wanted to do that. I don't want to do it by my damn self, but there's some places near me that I could go into, but they're just small little, places, like a house and stuff, and then, no telling, I don't really want to be smelling mold and all that crap anyway, but I've always wanted to do stuff like that. So anyway, I guess that's where they got the idea, because I had watched several videos on that for several days in a row, like a little over a month ago. So they they kind of put my aunt and uncle in the scene, acting like, I was at their house, their mansion basically. And they are millionaires, but they've never really lived like a millionaire. I mean, they could have afforded a house 10 times bigger than what they live in. But they moved 2 years ago because my uncle's getting Alzheimer's. And so they moved to a one-level house as opposed to that house that they've been living in since like the 50s or whatever in Arlington, Texas. So anyway, but they repeat those same things over and over again, and it was several years ago that they gave me a similar lucid dream where my uncle and aunt, I was in their house, and yeah, and it was, but the thing is, it was just a million times huger than the real house that they live in. I mean, just endless living rooms and bedrooms and bathrooms and dining rooms. Yeah, so they repeat the same things over and over and over and over again. Year after year after year after year. So anyway, this experience, I think I'm losing my train of thought, but this experience was by far one of the most funnest, but it was a little bit scary, and it was a serial abduction by the strong vacuum force technology that they use. And they don't, let's see here, they don't, the technology that they use, it's not visible to us, and it's not physical. But, in their own dimension, it may look, physical. They may be able to actually see it in their own dimension. Because, their own dimension, everything still looks and feels physical. But they still probably have technology that's invisible even in their own dimension. I really don't know. But to us, it's basically invisible and it's non-physical when they use it on us. So anyway, this is what it felt like. This was a serial abduction, bam, 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 back to back, on the morning of, it was 4 a.m., on the morning of February 28th of 2015. It was a serial abduction. And the first abduction, I was laying on my stomach the whole time. And the first abduction, he used the strong vacuum force technology to suck me up out of bed. It felt like, I believe it was Joel and a couple more reptilians together. And it felt like he was using this, it almost felt like it could have been a UFO, like a UFO overlaying my bedroom and sucking me up physically. Physically out of my bed. That's what it felt like. And if you watch some movies and like if you play that game, Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg, when you get to the end of each mission, they show Billy being sucked up by force, by a UFO. I mean, that's kind of what it felt like. Well, that is what it felt like. But, so I don't know if it was really a UFO that was sucking me up. I think it was, and it was loud. I heard the force. I don't know if my cats could hear the force or if they felt anything, but I heard the force as they were like, and it felt like a vacuum cleaner that was like 50 foot long, 50 foot wide, and about 5 million more times vacuum force amplified. That was sucking me up. But it felt physical. It felt like they were physically trying to abduct me. But they were that was just an illusion. Okay, so here goes the first abduction. Okay, so as he was sucking me up physically, I was very alert what he was doing, and I kept trying to fight it. I looked over to my right as I was being sucked up out of bed, and he presented me with a dresser, a small wood dresser that just kept rocking, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Well, I don't own a dresser, and I have no wood dresser in my bedroom. So that was virtual reality. Although it still felt like, he was physically sucking me up out of bed. So at that time, I guess I was kind of successful in fighting it, because then that was the first abduction. So then I went, back in the bed, and then here it comes again, this strong vacuum force technology sucking me up. like, and there again, I was like, whoa, I was just like, whoa, you know, I was trying to fight it because I was so alert what was happening. So then, what he does, he was successful in standing me down in whatever room he stuck me down in, and there were these 2 or 3 lesbians standing there in front of me, grabbing at my crotch. And I was kind of scared because I knew it wasn't really them. I knew it was the Reptilians. So then, I don't think anything else happened after that. So that was the second abduction. Okay, the third abduction. Okay, so then he sent me back to my bed after they were grabbing at my crotch, but they tried to make me think that it was lesbians grabbing at my crotch. And so then they put me back in bed. Okay, now here's where the fun begins. This third vacuum force abduction. I guess they just wanted to play with me and give me a little fun before the fun really began. Okay, here's where the third abduction begins. He was sucking me up out of bed by the strong vacuum force. And at this time, you know, he was totally successful and he sucked my astral body out of my physical body, no problem. But like I say, I think he was just he was just playing around with me. The Reptilians treat me like a cat on a mouse, and they very much know that we humans are like the mouse, that we are like the mouses, and that they are a cat, and they know that we are to be toyed with and played with. That's how they treat us. That's how they think. That's how they look at us, like we're the mouse and they're the cat. And I think he just was playing with me on purpose to, you know, they like to intimidate, and I think that's why, you know, they made that, you know, grabbing at my crotch scene, because they kind of like to intimidate as well. And I think that's why, you know, he made it seem like I was able to kind of fight, not letting them suck me up, you know, successfully, or, you know, make them not abduct me successfully by presenting me with that dresser, wobbling back and forth and everything. I think they were just playing with me. I mean, they had no intention of that being really a part of the real abduction that they gave me. They were just playing with me, and they threw those 2 scenes in there for shits and grins. You know, the grabbing at my crotch scene and the dresser scene. Okay, so the third abduction, now of course, he was successful this time in sucking me out of body with the vacuum force, sucking my astral body out of my physical body. You know, although it felt physical as he was sucking me up out of bed, but I know he wasn't abducting me physically. Okay, so here's where the fun begins, and this was, you know, the whole abduction that they meant for me to experience. They just threw those other little scenes in there for shits and grins. And this, like I say, this was a serial abduction, because 3 consecutive times, oh, here I go again, like, psh, being sucked up. And then, oh, okay, I'm back in the bed, and here it comes again, psh, being sucked up. But the third time, you know, was successful, and this is where the full scenario starts. But what I'm saying is, the first time, of course, he was successful in putting me in that room where the lesbians were grabbing at my crotch. But the second time with the dresser thing, you know, I saw the dresser wobbling back and forth as I was being sucked up out of bed, and then I ended up back in my bed, and it almost seemed like, you know, it's like it was either, you know, unsuccessful attempt at them, you know, abducting me, or it was either I was strong enough to fight it, but I know I wasn't. So they just threw those little scenes in there for shits and grins. But here's where the fun begins. And this, like I say, is on the top of my list as being one of the most fun. And he did get me off in this one sexually. He got me off sexually in this one, and he made me climax. And it feels like pure freaking ecstasy. Okay, so this abduction happened on, of course, February 28th of 15. a serial abduction, and this was the third one. Okay, this reptilian being I call Joel, knobby-faced reptilian, kept forcing me out of body with his vacuum force type of technology around 4 a.m. while I was on my stomach. He treats me like a cat on a mouse. I did resist as I was being sucked up higher off the bed because I knew what was happening to me. And I was kind of scared because I was too aware and alert. That stuff was powerful. His technology won. Whether or not my cats could feel and hear the force, I have no idea, but I heard it. I clearly heard the... I mean, it was freaking awesome. When he did finally, and like I say, I believe it was Joel and a couple more reptilians that was kind of in on this experience. When he did finally force me completely out of body, he lifted me up by the feet, my astral body, at the foot of my bed. He was holding me by the feet, right here. He lifted me up by my feet, my astral body, and I was just dangling there upside down. I started laughing because my feet are ticklish in real life, and I could feel the tickling part even on my astral feet when he was holding me upside down by my feet. I told him telepathically, "It tickles, it tickles." He got the message because the tickling instantly stopped. See, they are very respectful in that way. Then he threw me in the astral realm, but like I say, at first when he was sucking me up out of bed, it felt physical. But that was just part of an illusion. Because he was really just forcing my astral body out of my physical body. But that's what I mean. He treats me like, what kind of being is going to hold you upside down with your feet? Like a fucking gorilla holding a fucking mouse. Imagine a gorilla, with his hands and arms, holding a mouse by the tail. That's how these beings are, man. They know we're beneath them. They know we're in an inferior dimension to be toyed with and to be played with. But, if people were just more open-minded, they will give you the best freaking ass blast in the world. But yeah, they clearly treat me like a cat on a mouse. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So anyway, I was dangling there upside down, and I was like, "It tickles, it tickles." Okay, so then, after I told him, "It tickles, he got the message because the tickling instantly stopped. Then he threw me to the astral realm. And I remained on my stomach, astral traveling at a low rate of speed. It was murky and foggy. Sometimes the astral realm will be kind of murky and foggy. It was a blast. I was having a blast at this point. But like I say, I did kind of have some fear when those lesbians were grabbing at my crotch. Because I knew it was not the lesbians. I knew it was the freaking reptilians that were doing that. Okay, it was murky and foggy. It was a blast. I was having a blast at that point. It was only initially scary at the beginning. While en route, here's where the fun begins. Like I say, I was totally elated and happy and laughing the whole time I was astral traveling on my stomach at a low rate of speed in the astral realm. It was a total freaking blast. Here is where the fun begins. While en route, I was smiling and laughing, and I told myself, "Wow, I have independence. I am going to have some fun flying around." So I told my mind to perceive the murky, foggy astral realm clearer. They know I have been wanting to do this. It did. I even put my left hand out in front of me while flying, and I spread my fingers open, and I could see my foggy hand and fingers appear through the cloudiness. It looked non-physical. I put my hands like this. When I was astral traveling on my stomach, I put my hands out like this. I told myself to perceive the murky, cloudy astral realm clearer because it was foggy. So I told myself, okay, make it clear. And it did. And I hold my hand out like this. And I was looking at my hand and I was like, wow. And it actually did look non-physical. It looked ethereal. So I did. So I told my mind to perceive the murky, foggy astral realm clear. They know I have been wanting to do this. It did. I even put my left hand out in front of me while flying. And I spread my fingers open and I could see my foggy hand and fingers appear through the cloudiness. It looked non-physical. I was exceptionally happy and jovial. I guess the reptilian beings can make a person in any mood. It was obvious. Joel made me happy in this abduction. I mean, I literally was just like laughing and jovial. I mean, I was having a freaking blast. So anyway, here is the funny part. While still flying on my stomach, a very godly type of angel with a very feminine female voice, it was computer generated by their technology, yelled out to me from the distance. It was more like they were on the right side. They were at the right side of me, somewhere in the distance ahead of me. A female voice, angelic voice. And she screamed out like, "Oh, honey dear, ask us anything and we will answer all your questions." I was laughing at this point because I knew it was bullcrap. I knew she really wasn't an angel. I'm always conscious of the fact that a reptilian is giving me the abduction while I'm in the abduction, and I knew the reptilian was just presenting me with that illusion like an angel was talking to me. And she did say a couple other sentences, but I cannot remember them. But I do remember the, "Oh, honey dear, just ask us anything, like ask us angelic beings anything, and we will answer you. We will answer all." But anyway, I was giggling and laughing as they were screaming out to me like that because I knew they were full of crap. I mean, I knew the reptilian was full of it. Because I knew it really wasn't an angel. So I was giggling while still flying, and I yelled back to her. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm always conscious of the fact that a reptilian is giving me the abduction while in the abduction. I knew the reptilian being created that for me, just for shits and grins. And that it really wasn't an angel. So I was giggling while still flying, and I yelled back at her. "Oh, okay, why is my dimension I live in so fucked up? Why do I have to be physical?" I even said the F word. She yelled back and said, "Oh, honey dear, the answers will come to you in time." Like, "Oh, honey, the answers will come to you in time." And like I say, I knew it was just all, it really wasn't an angel. I knew the reptilian, was full of shit. I knew this really wasn't a real angel that he presented to me. Anyway, I know she yelled out to me one more or two more sentences, but I cannot remember. She did say more than just that, damn it, and I can't remember the other two sentences. Okay, so finally, I was at the end of the astral traveling part, and I looked down into the warehouse. There we go, another warehouse again, and another airplane. They put that in my scenarios all the time. Then finally, I was, where am I at? Okay, then finally, I was at the end of the astral traveling part, and I looked down into the warehouse while still flying, and I saw a small, awkward-shaped plane. Clearly, it was a very awkward-shaped airplane. And at that point, everything became completely clear. And I was done astral traveling, and the scenario started. Well, it actually, like I say, it actually started a long time ago. But that's not, that's not how I wrote it down. But it started, a long time ago. But this is where the astral traveling part was finished with, and the actual scenario started. The astral traveling part was finished. So then finally, I was at the end of the astral traveling part, and I looked down into a warehouse while still flying, and I was probably, oh my God, I was probably at least, 75 feet, above ground level. Then I finally was at the end of the astral traveling part, and I looked down into a warehouse while still flying, and I saw a small, awkward shaped plane clearly. At that point, everything became, bam, completely clear. And I was done astral traveling, and the scenario started. And the reptilian being placed me in a church. Pretty music was going on, and I saw a lot of people walking around. I was walking around and felt very out of place. They've placed me in churches many, many times. It's like they know I hate churches. They like to mock. So they like to put me in uncomfortable positions because they like to mock. M-O-C-K, mock. And the reptilian being placed me in a church. Like, if you became attuned to your reptilian beings and you didn't know how to ride a bicycle and you hate bicycles, they will stick you on a bicycle in your scenarios. Okay, so the reptilian being placed me in a church. Pretty music was going on, and I saw a lot of people walking around. I was walking around and felt very out of place. I mean, I felt totally out of place. Like these people are going to know I don't belong here. I looked at one brown-headed woman, and she looked at me, and I touched her on the head. Physically, I touched her on the head. Well, at this point, everything was completely physical. Completely physical. After I got done traveling through the astral realm. But I really wasn't physical. I mean, I was out of body. But everything still feels physical in the other dimensions or artificial dimensions that they put you in. Okay, I was walking around and felt very out of place. I looked at one brown-headed woman, and she looked at me, and I touched her on the head. She only looked about, early 30s. I remember thinking, dang, these people are going to know I'm out of place and from another dimension. I remember thinking, dang, these people are going to know I'm out of place and from another dimension. Then I floated over to a gift shop. I floated over to a gift shop, and I saw a display of all big, huge, awkward-shaped keychains. They were pure gold. And here we go again. Gold is ending up in my scenarios. They were pure gold. Joel puts gold in a lot of my scenarios. And he's abducted me repeatedly over and over again. And he still is. They were pure gold. They were odd-shaped, 3-inch by 5-inch keychains. They were huge. I was like, wow, gold. Funny how from several inches away, they look like pure gold. But then when I noticed that they were gold, I was just like, wow, gold. And then I popped forward to look at them closer. But then when I got closer to the keychains and touched them, the gold got dingy in color. And that's not the first time. That one abduction I put on here where he puts me down into a cave. Yeah. And he presented me with this gold about this wide, about 6 inches long and 3.5 inches wide and about 1 inch thick. And this guy was shining it up. Half of it was pure gold, shiny, and the other was dingy because he hadn't shined it all yet. That's not the first time he's done this exact same thing. Yeah, so when I got closer to the gold, because I was so curious to get closer to it, it dingied up. Almost like he was telling me, like, hey, it's really fake, or something like that. So funny how from several inches away, they look like pure gold. But then when I got closer to the keychains and touched them, the gold got dingy in color. This isn't the first time he put gold in my out-of-body experience scenario. I was by myself in this area. Yeah, after I saw the people walking around in the church, when I floated over to this area where the keychains were, I was by myself. Anyway, we're almost done, thank God. Anyway, I went up to the gold keychains and touched them. I just had to since they were gold. Then the next part is embarrassing, but I guess I can say a little. There was a huge full wall mirror, sort of like where the cashier clerks would have been. Yeah, over there by the keychains, over to my left, to the right was the display of keychains. To the left was almost like a cashier area where there was like 6 or 7 cashiers, except there was no cashiers there. And back behind the counter was this huge, long mirror. A lot bigger and longer than that mirror. Yeah, I mean, like huge. You know, I mean, it took up the whole wall. You know what I'm saying? It was, anyway. Then the next part is embarrassing, but I guess I can say a little. There was a huge full wall mirror, sort of like where the cashier clerks would have been. That whole back wall was a mirror, but no cashiers were there. And that's not the first time they put keys in my damn scenarios. And keychains. It was close to the display of keychains. You know, the mirror in the cashier area. I was still floating at this point above the ground. In the church, I was walking. Yeah, when he placed me in the church, I was actually walking around. And then after that, I got around by floating. Then the reptilian being did some sexual things to me directly but indirectly. By his technology, I guess, or by his mind. I was looking at that mirror, though, of the gift shop. I'm leaving some parts out because it was sexual. I don't know how they do it. The reptilians are magical. So anyway, I was back in my bed and I was still aroused. I was still aroused physically. Well, he already got me off once, but they're magical. I mean, if they wanted to get you off 50 times, you would get off 50 times in your scenarios. By the way, that isn't the first time churches, airplanes, and gold are showing up in my abductions. And churches. Oh, did I already say that? Oh, okay, I already said that. The airplanes are always very odd looking. So was a helicopter and a virtual reality experience I had a couple years ago. It was shaped like a well and didn't have a propeller and was glossy blue like car paint. They're very funny beings. It's like because they don't actually live in this dimension, maybe that's why sometimes they're not able to accurately get things exactly right. Like, I don't know. Or if they're just doing it for shits and grins. Because a lot of things will be awkward looking, like the airplane was very, very awkward looking. They have put things from the future in my abductions. I mean, things that aren't from this. I can talk about that later. But yeah, and so, sometimes when they give you orgasms, it literally does feel like a full body orgasm. I mean, like your whole body is having an orgasm. Instead of it just being, you know, isolated in one area. It's a total blast. So anyway, but this time it wasn't a full body orgasm, but it still felt, you know, it was just like, it was magical. I mean, I don't know how they do it, but it was magical what he did, and you know, there's no way I could make it feel that good in this reality. You know what I mean? In this boring physical reality, everything feels better in the other dimensions. And when the reptilians do things to you, it feels a million times better. But anyway, so that was my experience to the church. And this was by far one of the funnest that I've had so far. So anyway, thanks for listening.